Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
Just a heads up, we're talking finances and racing. So if your significant other has no idea how much money you spend on racing, you should turn this off now. I'm your host, Con John Turk, and on this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're going to talk about arrive and drive racing versus owning your own race car. Joining me to discuss this topic, a returning guest, an arrive and drive racer, and host of the Driven to Compete podcast, Carey Rouse. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Con. It's good to be here. Good to see you again. Excited to talk about this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of interested me, mostly because my schedule gets busy. I guess we can talk about eventually what kind of person or what circumstance you think is best for arrive and drive versus owning your own. But before we get too deep into the subject, let's talk about your podcast. How's it going?
The podcast is going great. You know, I essentially travel around the U.S. full-time in my RV from racetrack to racetrack, and I interview people who love racing. And that could be drivers, crew, team owners, you name it, officials. And I get their stories and I share them. I share them on YouTube and on every single podcast outlet. And it keeps me very, very busy. I put out 4 episodes a week, and it's cool to share all those stories. And the neatest thing for me is meeting all these people that I would have never met. So that's probably the best part of it for me.
You're a madman with 4 episodes a week. I mean, I understand that your situation, my situation is different. It's just a lot. It's probably an everyday editing, posting, interface work for you. So I know you said you don't have a full-time job anymore, but this is pretty much your full-time job as far as I'm concerned.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot to it. And I've been putting a little bit more effort into the editing of the video, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually second guessing how much time I'm spending on the editing, because I'm not sure if that's the thing that makes it great. You know, I think it's maybe the stories that are, and just hearing the different perspectives. So I may start trimming down the amount of editing I'm doing, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to pump out more per week, but more than likely it just means I get to slow down just a little bit.
Yeah, it can be intense. As a podcaster myself, we just keep going, right? We have to be opportunistic when we can have conversations and just keep churning.
Yep.
But I'm glad to hear things are going well for you, and you've moved from your condo, you're in an RV, you're living a dream, your dream. It seems like if I didn't have a race car in a house with a garage to deal with that race car, it would be good. It would be awesome. You know, I know plenty of people. My dad wants to go live in a van and travel around. Like it's a different way of life. And I'm just glad you're able to explore it and enjoy it.
Yeah. So far, so good. You know, get some road bumps, but I kind of expected the unexpected.
Yeah.
And so far it's, you know, everything works out. Somehow it'll work out.
So is your RV a pull behind, or is it a standard RV?
It is. It's an RV trailer.
Okay.
Pulling it behind my truck. I actually went through a lot of different thought processes on what I should start with on the size and type. And I was going to get an actual motorhome, but then I realized, you know, if something breaks in the motor, well, guess what? Your home is in somebody's shop for 2 months.
Right.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
So I decided to go with something a little bit more practical, and it turns out I could get more for my money that way. So a truck and a pull behind RV, and I've got it set up just like I like it.
Yeah, and I've seen some reels of you traveling in your Mustang, so you're still hiding that somewhere, I assume.
No, I sold that.
Oh, did you?
I sold that to pay for the truck and the RV. So this is all I've got. I'm a truck guy now. I mean, I was traveling in the Mustang. I love traveling in the Mustang. I just don't like sleeping in it.
Yeah, I can imagine. They're not that comfortable. They're comfortable enough for a road trip and stuff, but I don't know about sleeping. So
no.
So you're not racing this year, but in the most recent past, you've been running B-Spec with the SCCA, and you're an arrive and drive driver.
Yep.
So
that is correct.
Describe what arrive and drive is.
Well, arrive and drive gives an opportunity for somebody to race a car without having to do all of usually the hard parts about doing that. Like, I don't have to learn how to fix cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to work on the car. I don't have to transport the car. I don't have to get it set up. I don't have to break it down. I don't have to do anything with it. So I arrive by generally driving or flying to the track, and I rent from Chris Taylor Racing, and he has a toter or a semi, and he rents to other folks, and he will transport those cars from his shop in Austin, where he preps all of them. So all the cars are prepped. And he shows up. By the time I get there, the car is off the trailer. They're washing the windows, and I've just got to make sure that I feel comfortable in the car, get all my, Garmin, and make sure my safety equipment is in working order.
Mm-hmm.
I get in, I race, I get out. They deal with everything. I don't have to deal with tires or pressures or thinking about that. What I tend to do between sessions is look at data and talk to the other drivers on the team to see how we can all improve for the next session. And when it's over, I get back in the car or go back to the airport and fly home. And that is what it's like for me to do that.
So a little piece that we missed is we're going to talk your budget and my budget and stuff, but where are you sleeping and what are you eating?
Yeah. So the dollar amounts I'm going to give you now are it's what I was staying in Airbnbs.
Okay.
I was renting generally a rental car from the airport that I flew into.
Mm-hmm.
I also had the cost of my flights, and then my meals, I was pretty much eating out every meal.
Okay.
So it is not the cheapest way to do things. I mean, I could have still done arrive and drive and saved more money,
mm-hmm.
but at the time, I had enough money coming in that I decided that I wanted to do it that way. So now the situation is completely different. But yeah, I was staying in, and every once in a while, if an Airbnb wasn't available, I'd be in a hotel. But typically, Airbnb is the way I did it.
Okay. So just for perspective, for when I give my numbers, we talk about my budget. I tow to the track. I prep my own stuff. It's my wife and I. So the budget includes bringing her because she's my crew chief, essentially. She deals with all the stuff that I forget, like air pressures and torquing my wheels. She doesn't actually do it. She just reminds me to do it. She reminds me to eat, drink water, those types of things, because I'm usually focused on lots of other things. So it's dinner for two, usually on the tow out, dinner for two on the tow home. and then I'm feeding 2 people. So my prices are a little higher than some people, probably lower than others, but we don't. I actually, so the 2 tracks that we go to, one of them I sleep at my own house, and the other track I camp. So I don't have a cost to stay. Well, that's not true. There's $40 cost to tent camp at that track, but it's essentially I can average the 2 and give a range. So I have lots of detail in my spreadsheet. I'm a nerd. I spreadsheeted the build of my car, and I spreadsheet the ever rising cost of me running this new car, because it's actually higher in multiple ways than my old car. So some of its entry fees are up, and then other things are consumables are up. So, but that's just a perspective. I'm not paying for a hotel. At my closest track, I sleep in my own bed, and I drive 35 minutes each way. So, just perspective. But I'll let you go first. What's the average-ish cost for you to arrive and drive?
So in 2021, I had 7 events, 7 weekends, basically, and or track days. All right, and let me get to the numbers here. Actually, let me take that back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there was seven race weekends, and my total cost for everything for that entire year in 2021 was $35,000, just over $35,000. And that included, hauling the race car back and forth. I do have to pay for tires, but what's really nice about the B-Spec cars is you're typically only buying 2 tires at a time, because it's a front wheel drive. So you're just moving the front ones to the back, and then you get a couple new ones for the front. But they're also pretty light cars, and they're easy on the tires, so the tires will last a long time. I happened to find some killer deals on flights during that period of time. It includes the parking for my car at my home airport, or an Ubering there. It includes, I almost always had at least one hotel night, and that was after the race. I'd have to stay in a hotel because I usually get a flight the next morning. It includes all my meals, which I pretty much ate out every meal. Includes the cost of the rental car. It includes the cost of me renting the race car for the 3 or 4 days, whatever it is, what type of weekend it is. There's also the cost of practice. So generally, if there's a practice day before the qualifying and race days, another organization will put that on, and there's a separate charge for that.
Yep, I have that
so
too.
That I always did a practice. Then there's an actual race entry fee. So there's the cost to actually do with the race. And then I'm almost always paid for pictures or video, because that's the part I'm going to remember. So I either paid for professional video, or I just paid for some photos that were done.
Right.
And that rounds out all my costs. So all these things are like 3 or 4 day vacations for me. I'm going to a destination. I'm getting to race a car. Food, gas, entertainment, everything's paid for. This is 7 race weekends. And in the terms of the number of just sheer races, 13 races that year. I would say that, so I have just as a quick comparison, 2022 numbers. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events. So there was one more event. Actually, one of those is just a track day, but track days aren't free.
Nope.
So there was still 7 race weekends plus a track day. And it was $40,700 for the year, with all those things included. But there was something else that happened in 2022. I got rear-ended at the end of a straightaway at Coda in Austin, and it flipped my car. So for folks that don't know, right, if you're driving, it doesn't matter if it's your fault or not. If your car gets damaged, you pay for it.
Right.
So even with an extra track day and repairs for the B-Spec, which the B-Specs are, depending on what happens, it's actually not that outrageous to repair it. It was about an extra $5,000 for me for 2022.
Okay. I mean, that's not too bad. What?
Well, the other thing is, the reason this is good for me too is I didn't have a truck. I didn't have a trailer, and I didn't have my own race car. So I didn't have any of those costs, because that would have been a huge upfront cost to get all those things that I didn't have to get.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. I'm trying to do the calculations to match yours real quick about what I did for the year. So, I've run my car for 2 years. I averaged it by event, and I have a total for the year also, but essentially I'm averaging on the low side. My close track is like a 1488 per event. That does not include practice days. So if I add the practice days, it's almost 1800. I don't know if the event, what's a typical event price in Texas for you guys? Because on the East Coast, it's pretty high. I know the West Coast guys get away with murder. They get $200 track days and $300 race.
Are you
weekends.
saying a practice cost or race entry fee cost?
Race entry fee. What's your race entry fee in the middle of the United States?
The average race entry fee is $595 across the events in 2021.
Okay. I
actually take that back. It's $778, and the reason it jumped up so much is because I included the Indianapolis runoffs in 2021, which the race entry fee was $1,800.
Yeah, I don't have a breakdown quite like that. So you said, what was your total for 2022?
The 2022 total of all cost was $40,700.
Okay. And then what was 2021?
It was $35,200.
Okay. So you're averaging about $37,000, almost $38,000 a year. And how many events did you do?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 events. And then, I'll say it's 7 events and maybe a track day as well.
Okay.
And the events are, big weekends with races and practices and all that other stuff.
So you're looking at almost $5,400 an event weekend, a major event weekend. So practice and all that stuff.
I have that number as well. In 2021, the average per event was $5,041.
Okay.
And 2022, it was $5,099.
Okay. So yeah, right around $5,000. If I'm not doing a practice day, I'm averaging right around $1,780 for a race weekend, and I'm just under $2,000 for a race weekend. Now, for me, that includes my practice day, entry fee, payment. So not a payment, but wear and tear on my truck and trailer So I have a maintenance schedule on both, and I just divide my maintenance by the miles run to run an operating costs on my truck and trailer. And then I did that. I have an average fuel bill for the tow rig. I have race fuel, which doesn't actually vary between tracks. My race tire usage is in there. My race brake consumables. I have it broken down even down to ice, food at the track, all that stuff. So, and I get away with it kind of cheap. I run an open trailer. I bet if I had an enclosed trailer, my gas bill would go up. Some of the other consumables would go up. The tire use on the enclosed trailer, because you're towing enclosed and you have the wind shear on it, it wears out tires. It blows tires more often. So I could roughly say that me owning the car is about half of what you pay, probably.
That's probably about right. I mean, the other factor I would throw in for people if this matters to people, is that because I'm flying, I'm going all over the place for tracks. So I've been to Homestead in Miami and Sebring, and Coda's my home track. I've been to Howlett in Oklahoma, ECR, Eagles Canyon Ranch in Dallas.
Yeah.
Been to Houston, been to Indianapolis, Road America. So I've been to a lot of the iconic tracks that are, it'd be really hard to get there. If I was going to be hauling my own car, man, I'd think twice about doing that.
No, yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was the benefit of doing an arrive and drive. Okay. So, well, there's more than one benefit, but this is the perfect segue to a benefit, because it is a benefit. I'm not hauling to Laguna Seca. We know how much it costs. Last year, Nationals for NASA was at Laguna Seca. All of us did a bunch of math. I won't get to race at Laguna Seca every year. Okay. I generally don't travel more than, say, 300 miles in one direction to go racing. So I'm limited, right? That 300 miles gets me to VIR, sort of gets me to pit race, some other tracks sort of locally. So that is a benefit. If you do arrive and drive racing, you essentially can go anywhere, at least anywhere the team that you're working with is willing to go to. Or if you work with multiple teams, the price shouldn't be too much difference. I wouldn't say it would be too much different between teams. The cost to run is the cost to run. And so you're flying there, that's your cost. Your rental cost is basically what might change, but I bet it's not going to change that much. And maybe entry fees, right? So East Coast has higher entry fees.
Yep.
So, but that's a benefit, right? You can just fly. You can go to Homestead. You can go to Road Atlanta. You can go fly up to Watkins Glen. You can go hit Miller Motorsports Park if you wanted to. You can go all across the country to race. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. My first year I got to go to Indy, and I know that's a bucket list thing for some people, and it just never really hit me because it just seemed like, oh, that's just part of it. And first year I'm in, I go to Indy. But
yeah,
I've talked to so many people. They're like, no, that's not an everyday thing.
Yeah. So that's sort of that's a really big bonus for me. Now, I personally take joy in working on my own car and figuring things out for myself. But I do live in a time constraint world. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I get to use as many of them as I can while still not trying to sacrifice too much sleep. So the other benefit may be if you're not used to working on cars all the time, or you're not necessarily good at setting up cars, there's a savings there, right? So if I owned my own car but didn't work on it all the time, and it was at a shop, you're going to incur shop cost anyway, you know?
Oh yeah.
And that's not cheap. So, I know in your rental, there's B-Spec shop costs into that rental, right? He's not prepping those cars for free. So part of it is he's recouping it, but he's recouping it in mass and not by the job, essentially. So it's a little different, but you can end up with big bills when you go to the shops, and you have the shops do all the work. It can get quite expensive. So, and not only that, you have to tow to the shop and then take it away from the shop, because half the time the shop's like, hey, we're full, come get this thing. So there can be a lot of intermediate towing that goes on, and that could be an issue. But really, the two big benefits that I see is getting to drive wherever you want and freeing up your time, right? So if you're not working on the car, you can do other things, you know? So if you have family, you're not missing baseball games or soccer games or whatever, you know? If fitness is a part of your life, you don't have to skip a workout because you need to swap a transmission, you know? So there's lots of things. Time is money, you know? So it depends on how you value that time. But,
yep.
Do you have any personal benefits, that you see from doing Arrive and Drive that I haven't mentioned?
Well, I feel like it's allowed me to learn faster on and mainly because I get to spend so much time going over video and data in between my sessions. So I don't think I would have that time if I had to be spending it, you know, getting the car ready and working on it and adjusting it in between each of the sessions. So I don't even have to think about that. But yeah, for me, I don't want to make the time, and I'm not that interested in working on the car. I just want to drive it. And for me, like, there was no other choice. If I want to go racing, then I really need to do Arrive and Drive. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the equipment, the storage, or anything like that for a race car. I did think about for a while just buying a race car, owning it, but still doing Arrive and Drive. But I'm still going to have to pay for that support at the track. And so, you know, I save a little bit of money. It'll be a little cheaper, but not a whole lot cheaper. So it didn't really make sense for me to do that either. I feel like it's, you know, there are people that do that though. I know the people that race on the same team that I am, who own their own car, but they leave the prep up to Chris Taylor and the transport to Chris and the storage to Chris. But there's all this, you know, all that extra work has to get done at the track. So I don't know how you could save. I mean, some of the benefit obviously is, hey, you could sell the car when you're done with it. And now resale is pretty good. I think the first year I started, resale was not so good. And if you buy it, you know, just imagine half of the value being going away day one, where now they're retaining their value a little bit better.
Yeah. The resale it's sort of like a mirage, right? So I sell the car when I'm done with it. You're never going to get what you put into it, especially if you're doing the work yourself. Well, forget that. The work that went into the car, it doesn't matter whether you did it or whether a shop did it. You're not getting the money out of that. I've seen some folks, you know, they're like, oh, there's $80,000 in this build. And I'm like, yeah. If you do the shop bills and all that stuff, I get it. There's not $80,000 worth of parts in the car. So you're not getting $80,000. You're not even going to get half. You're not going to get what the parts are worth. Essentially, labor is thrown out the window. But recently, used race cars have actually been quite expensive. Things just, the stuff I saw for sale, I was like, wow, that's wild, you know. But you're right. Owning your own car and then turning it over to a shop to prep and do all that stuff, that's an option. And it's a flexibility option for folks like me who already own their car. If I were, I don't know, something changed in my life, right? Where I had even less time, which I'm not sure that could be happen, but even less time in my life, but I wanted to stay racing, I would have to find a shop and have them do the prep work and transport, and maybe not trackside support. I'd probably still do that myself, but it's an option, but it still comes with a bill. I don't know anybody who does that, so I don't know what kind of bills that would be, but I'm assuming maybe half of what your rental fee is still going to be in the prep fee for a car. So it's an option, but I don't see it.
One disadvantage I think I have, because I just don't pay attention to the setup that much because I don't have to. That leaves me probably at a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of truly understanding how those setup changes are going to affect the car and how that's going to affect my ability to drive the car. And it probably diminishes to a certain extent my performance. So I think that's a little bit of a disadvantage. If I'm not working directly on the car, I'm just not in tune as much as I could be with how that setup changes.
Yeah, you could be more proactive in that manner. I'm not sure your relationship and how things work out with how it works with your team or the engineers that are working on your car. But when you come in, do you tell them, hey, the car feels like this? You know?
I don't. If it's really bad, I tell them. Other than that, I don't believe I have enough experience. I don't have enough experience right now to where I could say I feel a little something weird coming out of the right front. I'm just not there.
I know some of us, I'm very particular in how my car feels. I know when it's not there. I don't know how to get it there half the time, but I know when it's right. So do you know when your car feels right or feels better? Do you prefer a looser car?
I would say that
pushy car, like
I don't have a preference yet. Honestly, whatever I get, I just try to drive that and make it work. So that's kind of my mentality right now is whatever I get, I just try to make it work.
Yeah, I don't think I could live that way. I definitely have a preference. I know when it feels weird, it feels off. I would definitely come in and be like, something needs to change. I need more front grip. I need less rear grip. I need something more rear grip. I don't know, whatever it takes. But you could be more proactive with your engineers maybe and say, hey, I'd like to loosen it up a little bit and then see how it feels. And ask them what was done. You know, if you come back and go, I like that. I like it being looser. You could do that. And I know it's not for everyone. So
yeah.
But
yep. No, yeah. I agree with you.
So outside of budgets and you getting to explore, you get to explore the United States. So you're paying a little more and you're a little disconnected from the car setup. Those might be the negatives, but the bonus is you're getting to explore the United States. You're getting to run tracks all over the world, and you get to concentrate on driving. I know for a fact I don't get to concentrate on driving all the time because sometimes I'm just working on the car. You and I both run Garmin's, and sometimes my Garmin sits most of the day and I don't pull it out and look at it because I have other things to worry about. and that can be a detriment that you're not necessarily going to get faster if you're not looking at your data. So kudos to you for being able to do that. So, but I think that's a big bonus. It's understated, but I harp on data a lot in this podcast. So,
yeah. I will say something that you mentioned earlier. You know, I think it's an advantage not to have to deal with the car, but it's just like people who like cooking and people who don't like cooking. Like, you like working on your car, so it's actually an advantage for you. But for me, that's a disadvantage because it's an advantage not to have to deal with the car. So.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, B-Spec has very simple rules. So there's not much you can do to those cars. The only changes that I think, because I haven't read the B-Spec rules in a while, but it's mostly alignment and tire pressure changes that would need to be made. So there's not much you can do. So your attitude of driving what you get is pretty stout. And most people need to do that. I probably need to learn to do that. So.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, that isn't really. I know we're talking about arrive and drive versus owning your own, but when it comes to B-Spec as well, there's just very little prep in between the races. Like, you could conceivably, in some circumstance, get done with a race, put the car in the trailer, roll it off for the next race, check gas and tire pressure, and get out there. That's not really possible with other classes.
Yeah, and you can't do that with my H4 or H2 car. You can't do it. We're going a lot faster than the B-Spec guys will be going. We tear up a lot more stuff, and there is a lot more maintenance. So that's something for people to be aware of when you're talking budgets. My budget is for a 2-liter VTEC engine that's revving to 8,800 RPMs, and you're running a B-Spec car that's really nice on tires and brakes and all that stuff. So if you were to arrive and drive in something similar to my car, or mostly I think arrive and drive guys are doing spec stuff, but or doing spec cars, but your maintenance will go up the faster that bill for arrive and drive will go up the faster your car is. So perspective to remember.
I mean, you kind of brought this up, and I think it's a valid point. My prices are based upon racing a B-Spec. B-Spec is the cheapest thing you could race. If I was doing arrive and drive and something else, the prices would be far different.
I mean, you guys are pretty lightweight and gentle on tires. I know. Do you have a breakdown of how much tire you're using per year?
I did have in one of my. Let me see when I looked at this. So I have every time I buy tires in 2022, for example, I had to buy 2 tires 5 times. That's it for the whole year. And those tires, a set of 2 for a B-Spec was only $330.
Okay.
So my total cost for tires was $1,650 for the year.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm roughly double that for the annual budget on tires. So, and I buy new front tires, and the rears, I'll brick them, let them stay hard. So that doesn't include a whole bunch of other stuff, but So that's you. Everybody needs to remember the perspective on the monetary stuff we were talking about. I'm running a Honda Challenge H2 car. We top out over 130 miles an hour regularly. So we're tearing stuff up. We're stopping, and they're heavier. I weigh 2750-ish when I come off track. You guys don't weigh over 2,500, I bet.
It depends on the car, but I think, in the neighborhood of 23 something or 25 something, depending on the make.
So pretty lightweight, couple 100 pounds difference makes a load of difference in your wear and tear. So for all the stuff that we've talked about today, take that into perspective. Really need to do that. So anything else you want to go over about B-Spec, or not B-Spec, Arrive and Drive? Any more benefits you think? Any negatives? I know owning your own car, it's just you're a slave to the car. You in the car. If you're going to make an event, it's you in the car. You're ignoring your family, your wife. Sometimes you got to take days off to get it to happen. But
I think I having never had to work on my own car or anything like that, I just take it for granted. I mean, it's so easy for me to just show up and it's working. Like, for example, I've had a transmission go out and they completely swapped out the transmission before the next session.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have to do anything. I was in looking at data. I've had a hub, like 1.5 hubs, we'll call it, go out. That was fixed in between sessions. I've had the car sideways on the track and someone T-boned the passenger side, and I had to get that completely realigned before the next session, and I didn't have to do anything. So
I was going to complain about 80% humidity in our 100-degree days here in Virginia, and going into the garage and the fan doesn't work. I mean, the fan works, but it's not doing anything. It's pushing hot air around. It's basically a convention oven at that point, But the fact that you're braking trackside and you're not having to do anything, and those days are the worst. Working on your car on the trackside is the worst. It is the least optimal place to work on your car, and it never goes the right way. And the fact that you get it worked on and you're not the one sweating out doing it, and then you have to get in, you're sweating, and then you get into your suit to go race. Arrive and Drive looks good for me when I'm in the garage, but now that you mentioned that stuff, that sounds like a good idea sometimes.
That's when I notice it the most, is whenever something goes wrong at the track and it just gets taken care of. It just gets handled. And it allows me, I don't ever miss a session. And I think that it's easy to miss a session if you're trying to do things all on your own, because you just don't have time sometimes to fix it in between sessions. And, this is another thing that's kind of interesting. When I was at Road America a few weeks ago for an SCCA race weekend, I wasn't racing, but I was covering it. One of the folks there who brought his own car, his motor blew, right? There was nothing he can do. It happened on the first race day. He wasn't going to get a race the next day. But the Arrive and Drive team had an extra car, and they were able to rent that car on the spot and be able to race the next day, they podium. So that same thing can happen, to me as an Arrive and Drive client. There's generally somebody else, if that's kind of the way I'm set up to do it, there's usually extra options for me that I can take advantage of. So again, I've really never missed a session.
Yeah, I can't say that.
I've had things happen during a session, and I couldn't finish the session. But generally, it's all something is resolved, or I get something else. I'm driving for the very next session, which is awesome. I
definitely can't say that. I'm light on points this year because I had to miss 2 races, just because the car I had one sensor go bad, and there wasn't a sensor within 100 miles of the racetrack. And it's not expensive. It's, an $80 sensor, but they didn't exist. I couldn't get one. So I missed one for that. And I had an axle seal go bad and I didn't have one with me. So that was another thing. So you're responsible when you own the car. Everything's on you. And, the regional points championship would be different if I hadn't missed those. So it's something to think about. You definitely make some valid and good points. Kind of make me want to think about doing a ride and drive, but I don't think I have that kind of money. So, but.
Well, I don't have that money right now, so that's why I'm not racing this year. Because if I'm going to race, that's going to be the way I do it.
I mean, once you're used to it, I don't know if you could go back, or I mean, you've never done it, so. But if you were working on it, you're on your own, and then you turned around and did a ride and drive, I'm not sure you could turn around and go back. So.
One other advantage of ride and drive typically is if you're renting a car from somebody doing that, they have multiple cars, they have multiple people, you have teammates, and so there's built-in camaraderie, there's built-in extra parts, there's built-in extra hands to help. It just comes with it, and it would seem overwhelming to me to kind of try to do it all on my own. I don't know. I really don't know how I could focus on racing. Like you said, sometimes you just got to get your stuff fixed.
Yeah. As a car owner and driver, I can promise that my class will help me as much as they can. It doesn't usually work out in between sessions unless it's something, I won't say fairly simple, but we're not swapping transmissions in between sessions. Okay. But every class that I've talked to so far, everybody that I've talked to, Saturday night, we'll swap a transmission and they'll be right there helping me. We've done it. I've helped my series director swap a transmission. One of the guys helped rebuild a transmission right there on the back of a golf cart, so people will be helpful, but it may not be as timely. You're still probably missing sessions. So that's a huge bonus not to miss sessions, because weekends are expensive these days. So if you're missing time, it just makes it a little more expensive. One of the guys I race with, he analyzes his budget. Maybe not his whole budget, but he runs what does it cost to operate my car per hour? And so when you're spending the money, if you look at it that way and your car's not out there, your cost per hour of driving that car goes up a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, I have it broken down by cost by day, and then I have the number of races for that day. So I could potentially do that, assuming the races are about 30 minutes on average each. But I don't go down to that level.
Yeah, he's an aircraft engineering kind of guy, and he does things differently. He has a certain perspective that he wants to look at things. So, and that's how he wants to look at it.
That's cool though.
Good for him. I probably would cry because I've missed enough sessions this year that I wouldn't want to know that number. I think he was talking about every time he did it by turns of the key. So every time he turned the key to operate the car on track. So he was doing it. He divided it by the number of times he actually went out, and it was still $1,000 every time he turned the key to operate the car. So
did he own it?
Oh no, he doesn't
do a ride and drive.
He'd never let anybody touch that car without his supervision. So he's very particular.
It's interesting you say that. $1,000 every time he turns the key on. So if he had two races on a day, or two sessions on a day, that'd be $2,000.
That was in particular last year. He was concentrating on a national championship run, which he did complete and won the national championship for Honda Challenge H2. But when you're talking about test days, engines, multiple engines, he drove from the DC area to Laguna Seca, California, towing all the way across with all his stuff, the amount of tires for testing, because he was doing obscene numbers of test days to get the car dialed in. He did the minimum number of race weekends to qualify for nationals. He was very rigid in a very specific program to do a very specific thing, which was win the national championship. And he told me it was like $1,000 every time he turned the key. So he was spending a lot of money in between every race, so it became a big deal for him. When you're putting that kind of money in between, you want to meet that goal. So he probably would look at Arrive and Drive as a much easier option after that year, but he has to back it up this year. It's much closer. It's much closer to home. He's not driving to Laguna Seca. He's driving to Pit Race this year. And I don't think he might break $1,000, but maybe it'll be much cheaper for every time he turns the key. So again, this is aerodynamics. He worries about the jet. What's the cost to turn the jet on and fly it and bring it home? It's just one of those ingrained things for him. So,
yeah. Well, it is interesting to know on a very large kind of scale. I think we've discovered that Arrive and Drive might be about double the cost for the ongoing cost.
Yep.
for operating versus owning.
Yeah, I mean we're not comparing apples to apples, but it's close enough. I think I'm at a little over 2,000. You're at 5,000. We could sort of skew some things, and things aren't necessarily exactly the same, but it's a perspective. It's a perspective that the listeners may be able to relate to. So I think that's good. So,
yeah.
Well, do you have anything else about Arrive and Drive?
No, other than I think Chris Taylor Racing is one of the best in the nation, and I'm lucky enough to live in Austin, close enough to partake. So I do all I can to promote Chris's business, and he's one of the most knowledgeable and nicest guys I know out there.
And the sponsor of your podcast is Chris Taylor Racing.
He is sponsoring many of those, actually. I'm still looking for sponsors, additional sponsors or different sponsors all the time for my podcast episodes. But because of my relationship with Chris, I make sure he's on a lot of those.
Chris Taylor Racing, are they the ones that took you to Homestead? So they transport from Texas to Homestead?
Yeah, but we do that strategically. There are actually two races back-to-back weekends. One at Homestead and the next one's at Sebring. Okay. So I treat that as a 10-day vacation. I go down for a Homestead and I just stay in the Miami area to see friends. And then I go to Sebring, 2 or 3 days after that and do another weekend of racing. Yeah, he transports all the way down there. So that's a cost, but it's two races for the price of one transport.
Yeah, I mean that will help in the long run for an event or two events like that. So that's just interesting that he makes that kind of a run. So that's cool. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your Arrive and Drive experience and expenses with the audience. You're welcome anytime. Congratulations. Your numbers keep climbing on the podcast. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy to be on yours, and it's great sharing and actually learning more about the cost associated with yours, because actually I haven't really dug into the cost of owning your own, except for one. Like I said, it was kind of a pseudo own your own, like own your own car, but I'm still going to have somebody else take care of it, store it, transport it. So I haven't really got a sense for the overall cost if I just did everything.
And if you're going to own your own race car, you're going to own your own tools. And that's a whole nother podcast about how expensive that is. So, yeah, that it can get pricey. So anyway,
I've got one little toolbox. That's it. That's all I have.
Yep. Well, you're going to need it. You own an RV trailer, so you have to have something.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The tool that I use more often than anything else in the RV is duct tape.
It could be worse. You could be on that Flex Seal tape. So then you know you're in trouble. Yeah. Take care.
It's gone. All right. Bye-bye.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.